Why do smart people procrastinate? If you're intelligent, capable, full of ideas, and yet somehow always behind on the things that matter most, this video is for you. Before we go any further, hear this. If you procrastinate on the things you know would change your life, the issue is not what you think. You don't have a discipline problem. You have a sequence problem. Read that again. You have a sequence problem. Every morning you wake up with a finite amount of mental energy, a full battery, clear, sharp, focused. And every morning that energy leaves you in almost the exact same order. You check your phone first. You answer the easy email first. You handle the small task first. You scroll for 10 minutes first. You make the second coffee first. And by the time you finally sit down to do the one thing that actually moves your life forward, the battery is already at 30%. You give your sharpest hour to your dullest tasks. That's not a motivation problem. That's not a productivity hack problem. That's not a you need a better app problem. That is a sequence error. The exact same broken line of code that keeps people broke, but running on a different machine. The machine of your attention. And until you fix it, no morning routine, no planner, no productivity system on earth will ever change the outcome. Today we are going to learn the one habit that fixes the sequence. The habit Brian Tracy called Eat the Frog. The habit so simple that 95% of people will read about it, agree it makes sense, and then go right back to checking their phone first thing in the morning. The same 95% who will spend the rest of their lives wondering why they never finished the things that mattered, despite being smart, capable, and well-intentioned. This isn't about working harder. This is about ordering your attention. And by the end of this video, you'll either install the habit, or you'll know exactly why you didn't. Most people think the path to getting more done is to manage time better. It isn't. The mechanic says you don't manage time. You can't manage time. Time keeps moving whether you plan it or not. What you actually manage is the order in which your attention touches your tasks. Two people with the exact same 24 hours will end up in completely different lives based on a single variable, what they do first. This isn't theory. The pattern has been observed for thousands of years, in every culture that has ever produced people of consequence. The Stoics wrote about it. Monks structured their entire days around it. Generals used it to win wars. Modern behavioral science has confirmed it under laboratory conditions. There is something specific that happens to your brain in the first hour after you wake up, and what you do in that hour writes the script for the entire day. It worked 1,000 years ago. It works today. It will work in 100 years. Because it isn't tied to your industry, your goals, or your schedule, it's tied to how the human brain allocates energy, and the law has one rule. The habit is this: eat the frog. The frog is the one task on your list that you most want to avoid, the one that matters most, the one you keep pushing to later, the one that produces 80% of your results but creates 100% of your resistance. Before the email, before the phone, before the meetings, before the small wins that feel productive but change nothing. Before anything else touches your attention, the hardest, most important task is started and finished, or at minimum, attacked. That's it. That's the entire mechanic. No tricks, no hacks, no new apps. Just a reordering of the line. It sounds too simple to matter. That's exactly why it works. And that's exactly why almost nobody does it. Let me show you what's actually happening underneath, because once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it. Number 1. Why smart people procrastinate. Procrastination is not a character flaw. It's a mathematical reaction. Watch what actually happens in your brain when you face an important task. You scan it for two things: the size of the reward and the distance to the reward. A small task with an immediate reward, like answering a quick email, scores high. A large task with a distant reward, like writing the chapter, building the business, having the difficult conversation, scores low. Your brain is not lazy. Your brain is doing exactly what it evolved to do. It's choosing the highest reward per unit of effort right now. The smarter you are, the worse this gets. Smart people are better at finding small tasks that feel productive, better at justifying why this email matters, better at constructing arguments for why I'll do the hard thing after lunch, better at making distractions look like work. The intelligence that should be solving the problem ends up dressing up the avoidance until it's almost invisible. This is why smart people often achieve less than they should, not because they're not capable, but because their intelligence becomes the architect of their own delay. The frog exists precisely because your brain wants to avoid it. The reward is far. The effort is high, the discomfort is immediate, and so it gets pushed every day to a tomorrow that never arrives. Eat the frog inverts the math. You stop letting the brain choose by reward per effort. You choose by importance, and you choose first before the brain has a vote. Number 2. The first hour rule. There is a window every morning that determines almost everything. The first hour after you wake up is when your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for focus, decision-making, and complex problem-solving, is at its sharpest. You wake up with a finite amount of what neuroscientists call directed attention. It is not renewable during the day. It depletes with every decision you make, every notification you check, every microtask you handle. This is called decision fatigue, and it starts the moment you open your eyes. Most people spend their sharpest hour on their dullest tasks. They scroll, they reply, they scan, they consume other people's content before producing any of their own. By the time they sit down to do the work that actually matters, the battery they could have used for 1 hour of deep, important work has already been spent on 20 minutes of nothing. The wealthy, the productive, the people who finish things do the opposite. They protect the first hour like a vault. They aim it directly at the task that matters most, and they refuse to let anything else touch it. Phone off, email closed, door shut, one task, until momentum is real. You don't need more hours in your day. You need to stop spending your best hour on your worst tasks. Number 3. The 80-20 fork. Here is the mechanic that makes the frog worth eating. Not all tasks are equal. 20% of what you do produces 80% of your results. This isn't a slogan. This is an observed pattern that holds across almost every domain humans have measured. 20% of customers produce 80% of revenue. 20% of effort produces 80% of skill. 20% of decisions shape 80% of your life. And here's the part that hurts. Most people spend their day on the 80% that produces 20%. The small emails, the little fires, the meetings that should have been messages, the tasks that feel productive because they're crossed off, but produce almost no actual movement. The frog lives in the 20%. The frog is always in the 20%, by definition. That's why your brain avoids it, because the 20% tasks are bigger, harder, more uncertain, more emotionally expensive. They require thinking, judgment, courage. They don't reward you immediately. They reward you in weeks, months, years. But they are the only tasks that change anything. So the question is not, how do I do more? The question is, of all the things on my list, which one actually moves the needle? And then, why am I not doing that one first? Eat the Frog forces you to answer both questions every morning. And the more honestly you answer them, the more your life starts to look like the life of someone who actually finishes things. Number 4. The identity shift. Here's the part nobody talks about. Eating the frog isn't just a productivity habit, it's an identity rewrite. The day you start doing the hardest thing first, every morning, before anything else, you stop being a reactor and start being an actor. Reactors receive the day and respond to whatever shows up. Their phone tells them what to do. Their inbox tells them what to do. Their calendar tells them what to do. Their attention is rented out hour by hour to whoever happens to need it. They end the day exhausted, having moved nothing forward, because they spent the entire day responding instead of choosing. Actors choose first. They walk into the day with a decision already made. The frog is identified before the day begins, sometimes the night before, and the first action of the morning is the action that moves the most important thing forward. Everything else, the email, the messages, the small fires, gets handled with whatever energy is left, in the order it deserves instead of the order it demands. A reactor's question is, what's urgent right now? An actor's question is, what's important always? Once you ask the second question even once, the first question loses its grip. You can't unsee it. You realize that almost every urgent thing on your phone right now will not matter in a week, while the thing you've been avoiding for 6 months is the thing that, if you actually did it, would change the next 10 years. That realization is uncomfortable. That discomfort is not a problem. That discomfort is the new operating system installing itself. Brian Tracy said it cleaner: if you have to eat a frog, don't sit and stare at it for too long. The person who eats the frog first stops carrying it around all day. Not because they suddenly became more disciplined, but because their identity stopped being the kind of person who avoids it. Number 5. Why your brain fights this. If this habit is so simple and so powerful and so well documented, why doesn't everyone do it? Because your brain is running software optimized for short-term survival, not long-term achievement. Human beings evolved in environments where the immediate threat was the only threat that mattered. The lion now, the food now, the shelter now. There was no project, there was no quarterly goal, there was no 5-year plan. The brain you're trying to use to write the book, build the business, finish the degree, is the same brain that was once trying to keep you alive by responding to whatever was loudest in the environment. So when you sit down to face the frog, your brain raises an alarm. The frog is large, the reward is invisible, the effort is high. And right next to the frog, glowing on your screen, is a stream of small, easy, instantly rewarding distractions that score perfectly on the brain's ancient reward system. Notifications are slot machines, emails are slot machines, quick wins are slot machines. Each one offers a tiny hit of dopamine, and the frog offers nothing for hours. The brain picks the slot machine every time, unless you remove its vote. Willpower will lose this fight. Willpower is finite and the slot machines are infinite. The fix is not to fight the brain harder. The fix is to remove the brain from the decision. You don't eat the frog by deciding every morning. You eat the frog by deciding once and never deciding again, which brings us to the next mechanic. Number 6, the architecture lock. Here is the move that makes the habit unkillable. You don't rely on motivation. You build architecture. The night before, you identify the frog, one task, the most important one. The one that, if completed, would make tomorrow worthwhile even if nothing else got done. You write it down. You place it where you'll see it first. You remove the friction between waking up and starting it. The book is open on the desk. The document is loaded. The tools are laid out. There's no decision to make in the morning, because the decision was already made the night before. Then you remove the slot machines from the first hour. Phone in another room. Notifications off. Email closed. The internet, if you can manage it, disconnected. The architecture of the morning is built so that the path of least resistance leads to the frog, not away from it. You are not trying to overcome temptation. You are trying to never meet it. The night before is the day before the day. This is the part where you stop being someone who tries to be disciplined and become someone who has built a system that produces discipline as a byproduct. The habit stops requiring willpower because the environment is doing the work. The system fires whether you're tired, distracted, motivated, or unmotivated. It runs on architecture, not feelings. Most people try to push themselves through the resistance every morning. The productive build mornings where there is no resistance to push through. Number 7, the compounding life. Let's run the timeline. Day 1 of eating the frog feels heavy. The task is hard, the reward is invisible. You finish and nothing dramatic happens. You'll be tempted to think this isn't doing anything. Week 1 is when something subtle changes. You notice that the days you ate the frog feel different from the days you didn't. Not because you did more, but because you did the thing that mattered, and the rest of the day became less urgent. The pressure that used to ride on your shoulders all day, the silent weight of the thing you were avoiding, is gone by 9 a.m. Month 3 is when the math starts to lift its head. The book has 50 pages. The business has the foundation. The project that seemed impossible has become inevitable. Not because of any single dramatic effort, but because every morning the most important task got the best hour, and small, consistent forward motion started compounding into visible progress. Year 1 is when most people who started this habit no longer recognize the version of themselves from 12 months ago. Not because they became someone different, but because they stopped giving their best hour to the wrong things, and 1 full year of best hours adds up to something the old self could not have built. Year 5 is where it becomes absurd. 5 years of mornings where the most important task got handled first is not a productivity hack. It's a different life, different work, different output, different identity. And it traces back to one decision, the decision to reverse the sequence of attention. The decision that the most important thing gets the sharpest energy and everything else gets the leftovers. The choice. Here's where you are now. You know the habit. You know why your brain will fight it. You know how to make your brain irrelevant to the decision. You know what happens if you do it, and you know what happens if you don't. What you do next is the only variable left. Most people will close this video, agree it makes sense, and tomorrow morning, they will check their phone first. They'll answer the easy email first. They'll handle the small task first. And in 5 years, they'll wonder why they're still working on the same goals they had today. The mechanic will keep doing exactly what it was designed to do because mechanics don't care whether you believe in them. They just run. Or you can do something different. Tonight. Not next week. Tonight. Identify the frog for tomorrow. Write it down. Remove the slot machines from your morning. And tomorrow, before anything else touches your attention, sit down and start. Once the sequence of attention flips, time does the rest. If this video shifted something, leave it a like. Subscribe to Living in Atoms. We break down the mechanics behind the systems running your life, one at a time. And share this with one person who needs to hear it, because the people around you will rise or fall by the same laws. You don't need more hours to change your life. You need to give your best hour to the thing that matters most. The sequence is the secret. The frog is the lock. And the door has always been open.